Go ahead and state your full name for the camera.
Oscar Martinez Pena.
Okay, and you're the Muay Thai instructor at Muay Thai of Colorado and Colorado Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Correct.
Okay, and how long have you been studying your field?
Muay Thai I've been studying for about 20-some years now.
20 years?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And how did you get involved in?
I actually lived out in California, in Sun Valley, California, and it was a rough neighborhood. One day I avoided getting jumped by a bunch of guys, and so I took the long way home, and I ran across Muay Thai Academy of America.
Okay.
And I went inside and I kind of hid out because I didn't want to get jumped. And the gentleman there, Crew Puck, came up to me and asked me, if he can help me. And I was like, well, just kind of stayed quiet. But he was really open to me. So the following day, I started going, and that's kind of how it started off.
Did you have any previous misconceptions about what it was, or did you think it was more like Western boxing, or did you have any idea what you walked into?
No, I actually used to go to the local YMCA.
Okay.
And they had a local boxing program.
Right.
It wasn't really structured out. It was just a bunch of kids that would get together, and I had a speed bag, and I'd always take it to the park, and I'd always hit it. So I got pretty fluent at hitting the speed bag, but I never really had like a structured, fighting system. And so when I came across that, I went in there and I saw these guys training, and they're just wailing on each other and training and going, and I ended up hanging out for a few hours. And so, I talked to Puck. He told me, come on in. So I started coming in, but I had no idea what I was getting into. I mean, I watched the Kung Fu movies and everything else, and it was just really cool that I was able to just stumble upon it like that.
Okay, and how long did it take you to get in shape? Because this is in comparison to a lot of martial arts, it's more physically demanding. And how long did it take you to get in good shape enough to do this every day and be comfortable?
When I started training with him, within 6 months I was fighting.
Okay.
I was doing the smokers, which is when they get all the local academies together and they just put up all the fighters and they just have them spar.
Okay.
So within 6 months I was doing those.
Right.
So I guess
awesome.
I guess within 6 months I was in fight shape, I guess.
And how long from the time that you began your training, and how long was it until you began training other people?
Oh wow. I trained with Puck about 7 or 8 years.
Was that your only instructor, or
there was 5 different instructors at that academy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Crew Puck was the main instructor. There was Koban, Saksan Janjira, Pong, and Nakweed.
Okay, I'm just judging by the names. They probably all were from Thailand, right?
All Thai. It was great because it was like Thailand came to the United States.
Right. Did they actually teach you the language, or?
Enough. They yelled at me all the time, so I guess.
Yeah. So you learned
what they were saying.
You learned what you were doing wrong in that language.
Right.
Okay. And the discipline itself. What did you take as far as the mental aspects, and what carries over with you to your everyday success?
Man, you know what? It's just never quit. Train, and it's like these gentlemen here. These are like the new generation for this. And what I pass on to them and what I passed on within myself is that with hard work comes everything.
Right.
Nothing in my life came easy. And so when I came to Muay Thai, it was just a part of my life.
Right.
It was already just a seamless bond, because everything that they did day in, day out, that's the way my life was outside of that. It was just a hard life, hard training, and I guess the best thing that I learned from it is just to respect yourself, respect others, do good unto others, and everything else will fall into place.
Right, yeah.
And that's the same thing I tell these guys day in and day out.
That's just something that, when you walk in the doors, that's something you just expect.
No, nothing is expected.
Right.
Nothing is expected.
So you don't have any philosophies or mottos that after your students have been training with you for any extended period of time, what do you expect out of them as far as what they should have taken from the lessons that you teach?
You see, to expect something from somebody can be a failure. But when people come to you and they do and they show you, that's what really touches my heart. Because that's the same thing that somebody did for me.
Right.
Walked in through somebody's door, hiding out, and just right away, hey, what can I do for you? And, now because of him, I have this. So I make sure to always go back and just let him know how much I appreciate it, So I don't know if that makes sense.
It does,
That's my
yeah.
philosophy with it.
That's good though.
Not
It's
expensive,
a
but-
giving
Yes.
sort of
Yes.
mentality, and that's
Right.
always good. So I guess what you do is you do similar to Dave in that what you're trying to convey is a message that they can teach to others,
Right.
and a way to live. You know,
Yeah.
because it's not just about fighting, and it's not just about technique.
You know, when I first got into it, I wasn't even looking for fighting. Like, I went back and I asked him if I can train, and he had me sign out some paperwork. And in the paperwork, it asked, why do you want to do this? And I said, I want something I can grow in. And I mean, look, through me, this is growing. And everybody else is growing. And there's been so many people that have come through these doors, not ever wanting to fight a day in their life, but they train so hard and they see that they're able to do it, that it changes their mentality, because they're not looking at it as fighting. They're looking at it as a challenge within themselves.
Right, yeah.
I've had people that would never even throw a punch a day in their life, and next thing they know, they're competing, and they do well. And it's not because I showed them how to fight, it's because I showed them how to confide in themselves, how to be strong in themselves. You know, people come up to me, I want to be a fighter. Well, you know, I don't know. How do you disarm a guy? Walk away.
Right.
You know,
Why do you want to learn these things?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm not giving people false pretenses. This is a sport. And thank God through the sport, I have what I have.
What are some of the lessons that you emulate from your previous instruction, or maybe philosophies or methodologies or anything along those lines of that you, when you first began learning, you took that with you, and now that's something you teach your students?
Patience.
Definitely
Patience.
a good quality.
Patience.
Well, it's especially in what you do. You know, it's going to take patience to get even the endurance to go through the warm up. You know,
not only that, but you know, everybody comes in with different emotional needs. I mean, this is, you know, a physical sport.
Right.
A lot of people come with a lot of emotional needs, and if you can see what they are, you can find a way to help them out with this. One of the gentlemen that's sparring in there, at first, he would start getting hit, he'd back up. Oh man, it's gonna hurt me. But I was like, no, you know what you're doing. You know how to defend yourself. Be confident in that. Be patient with yourself. And little by little, you know, he's taking little bites, and it's growing, and he's doing much better. He's doing much better. So I think that patience is the most important thing.
and you've had 5 previous instructors. Which one of them was your favorite or the most funny to you?
They were all my favorite.
Did they do? Because I don't know about, you know, the typical person from Thailand, but what is
Which
their
one was the
culture like?
hardest?
Yeah, which one was the funniest and which one was the hardest?
By far, the hardest on me was Saxon,
Okay.
because I could never do anything right. I'd throw a kick, boom, no, it's not good enough. And I was like, man, what do I have to do? I've just spent 8 hours in here trying to do what you've taught me, but it wasn't good enough. But I never quit. And, you know, I think that with that attitude, you know, the techniques were passed on to me.
Right.
The funniest by far had to be Puck. Just because he had a real light sense of humor about everything.
Now-
I'd get in there and I'd try to go hard, be like, relax.
Were they all in the same facility
Yes.
at the same time?
It's like what we have here.
See, that's a great, you know, a great mesh to have somebody who can ride you but make you have fun at the same time. That's,
Right.
Yeah.
And see, like, even though I had all these instructors, Puck was the mediator of everything. Because he would have one instructor come train me, and then he would come back and show it how it fit in me.
Mm-hmm.
Where some instructors show you what they can do.
Right. A lot of traditionalists are that way, in that they
Yeah.
don't teach the personal evolution or how you can even adapt it to your own body
Right.
type or your own physical archetype or however you want to word it. They just teach what they were taught only, and not what they found for themselves in that teaching.
Exactly.
So I think that's very important, and I'm glad that you mentioned that.
One thing that I know that I've been able to do and have success with is take the individual and see what works for them. Tall, lanky individual might not be as fast, but can definitely throw different techniques better than the other guy.
Right.
Short, stocky guy might not be able to be as long as the taller guy, but you can teach him good footwork to get in there and neutralize that. All of our fighters, they all have a different style. Not because of me. I have my own style of fighting, but I didn't teach them my style of fighting. I've taught them what fits them, according to their body, according to their life experiences. that changes everything in a fighter. But if you just teach them how to do a kick, then well, how do you make it work for you? You know, so I think that's one thing that we've been able to do because of all the instructors that I've had. Because of all the
Have you
influences.
now? Is Muay Thai the only discipline that you've learned, or has there been others?
I've dabbled around with the jiu-jitsu.
How do you like that?
You know, it makes me claustrophobic.
Does
honestly.
it? Yeah. There's no space.
Yeah. Well, especially, I mean, I've done it. I've been with Dave teaching for a long, long time, and I've jumped into his classes, and you know, I've learned a lot of things. And there's a lot of mixed martial arts athletes that come and train with me as well. And in doing that, I've had to open up my horizons so I can understand the game a little better.
What do you think are the biggest things that translate from both?
The biggest thing that everything translates to the certain individual, to the right individual. The thing that you have to do is know where the middle part is. To know where to be on the ground, to know when to be on your feet, to know when to be wrestling, to know when to be striking. And that's something that I'm still working on and trying to figure out. But you know, if you have the right athletic mind and everything else and the right body, I mean, it'll fit into anybody. But you just have to be open, because so many people believe that this fixes everything, when in reality it's only a part of it.
Right.
This only does this when it's only, you know, a part of it. But I think it's a whole evolution of everything together with the mind, with the right open mind, that'll make everything work.
Okay, that's a really good answer. Is there any advice that you have for anybody that comes into your school that besides the patients, obviously, and the things that are just natural, but you know, there any kind of like a motto or something that you usually give to your students to have them think about having that patience or wanting that desire to do better?
You know, it's one that you've heard time and time again: blood, sweat, and tears. Blood, sweat, and tears. As a matter of fact, I had to remind somebody of it. That was bloody, that was sweaty, and had a few tears.
Right.
I was like, remember, you're on the right path if you want to be a competitor. But not everybody that comes here is going to be a competitor. Not everybody has that mental fortitude for that. And it's okay. I pride myself in being a teaching school and not a fighting school. Fighters come out of it, but those guys rise from the rest. Everybody else here, I'm more than happy to teach, because that's what I do. That's what I'm meant for. I'm meant to be a teacher. Right.
So you have, do you run any kind of children's program, or?
You know, I actually did have a children's program. I had about 7 little kids in there. And there's still actually a little child that I teach who started with me at the age of 2. He's 4 years old now. He comes in and he does privates, and the little boy's really good.
That's funny. That's awesome, though. You know,
oh yeah,
the sooner the better. The sooner they can learn those kinetics, the more they're going to be able to grow up with that and have the confidence to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.